Hello and welcome to another episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we're going to talk to you about mittens.
That's right, Johnny, mittens, and specifically why the state of Michigan has an extra
Yeah, what?
doohickey on top of that mitten. And
Yeah, what? Yeah, what is that about?
what the hell that was for. So, I mean, I'm sure if you're even Americans, even if you're not American, if you're American, you look at the map and go, well, why the hell is Michigan's border the way it is with the UP up there, the Upper Peninsula? It doesn't make any sense. Why the hell is it there? And essentially,
Why doesn't it belong to what? Wisconsin?
Wisconsin?
Is it coming off Wisconsin or
Yeah, and
Why
essentially,
why don't they have it?
It's or maybe even its own state because it's a pretty big chunk of land.
Yeah, it's sizable. Yeah, I mean, I as far as I know, in the UP, there's nothing but houses that have no running water or electricity or anything. It's just like old style. Nothing is really there. Is that?
Yeah, well, I want you to keep that in the back of your head because, I mean, that's not entirely untrue because there's a lot of, areas that are not super populated up there, but keep that in the back of your head about why would anybody want to live in the UP because there's nothing up there. Keep that in the back of your head because it's going to come around.
All right.
But
all right,
essentially,
let's get into it.
This is all Ohio's fault, and it all goes back all the way.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's all Ohio's fault, and it all goes back all the way to the year 1787, Johnny, when the Congress of Confederation, which is a pre-constitution of these United States, it's actually the Articles of Confederation, that Congress, they create the Northwest Ordinance, Johnny, which creates the Northwest Territory, which is essentially all of the northern part of the Midwest. So Illinois, what is now Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and even part of Minnesota.
Okay.
The ordinance set out that it would create at least 3 states from this territory, but no more than 5 states from this region, which if you were doing the math, when you heard what I just said, there is 5 states and then some that got onto a 6th state. So we don't follow ordinances.
I mean, they
very
tried
well.
though. They had some instruction and they got close.
They got close, 5.25. In any case, it is specifically said that the border of the future state, one of the future states, needs to be through a straight line east to west connecting the southernmost point of Lake Michigan to Lake Erie or the southernmost point of the Canadian border.
Okay, so that's the bottom border of Michigan, top border of Indiana is essentially what that creates.
Yeah, it's referring to what would be Ohio. Yeah, so it's saying the northernmost border of or southernmost border of a state needs to be on the southernmost tip of Lake Michigan, running straight through to Lake Erie or the southernmost border of Canada, whichever one is deemed the southernmost point, I guess.
Okay.
Because
Canada dips in down there. In Michigan, you drive from Michigan to Canada to Michigan, right?
Yes.
In some places,
much.
So that's okay. Okay, so that, I mean, it sounds like they're putting up some clear instruction on how to draw boundaries, but other than that, it doesn't matter. They just need that line.
Just need that line. Anywhere else, any of the other states, that's the only line that's drawn in this ordinance as to where a territory line needs to be because reasons.
Because I don't know, it looks nice on a map.
It does, and Johnny,
it makes it easier for the cartographers. Right?
If you're a fan of this channel, you know that 1700s map makers or cartographers were kind of shit, and that southernmost point was unknown and debated. Today we know it as the 41.62 degrees north, which is near Marquette Park in Gary, Indiana.
Don't visit.
You're following that already, you know that we screwed up because clearly Gary is in Indiana and not Michigan.
Yeah.
Damn it! Michigan could have had that shithole too.
We can. Is it too late to give it to them?
I think we could give it right back. In any case,
just absorb it.
Right? The Congress of the Confederation kicked this can down the road and settled the territories. We'll worry about this border dispute when they actually start becoming states. But for right now, they're just territories.
When it becomes an actual dispute, yeah.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, it's a wild, wild west out here.
Exactly, in the Midwest. That government,
west.
Johnny, that government is going to fold, and it was going to be up to the new Constitution to try to interpret things. In 1802, the new Congress would pass the Enabling Act of 1802, which would allow Ohio to start the whole process of becoming a state. Naturally, Ohio is going to take a very loose interpretation of the boundaries of the Northwest Ordinance and felt that naturally, by the southernmost point of Lake Michigan, what they were clearly meaning is to give them as much land as they can, including the entire bank of Lake Erie, because why would any other state have access to Lake Erie except Ohio?
They don't need it. Yeah, just Ohio. So, Ohio can handle everything. And the southernmost point on a lake. What if there's a river coming out of it and going down? Does that count? I mean, it's a gray area.
Yeah, gray area is
when does a lake become a river?
So, or a river become a lake, depending on how you want to look at it.
Either way.
So essentially what they wanted to do is they wanted to control the entire shoreline of Lake Erie, cutting off any future state's access to Lake Erie except for the small channel that runs through Lake Huron.
Now why?
And why this is
so
important
that they can
as
have
well.
all the access to the shipping ports and everything?
Yeah. There's a port city of what's called the Port of Miami, which is the future city of Toledo. And it sits on the Maumee River. And if a canal is going to be built between the Maumee River and the Ohio River, you could theoretically run water shipment from New Orleans all the way out through New York. So at this point in the 1800s,
that's big.
That's big shipping. And so Ohio wants to be able to control this aspect of the big shipping.
Force them to go through and visit their rest stops and whatever.
Exactly. They want to be able to force them to go through the entire Maumee River and own access to the entire Maumee River, not give the crucial inlet into Lake Erie to some other state.
Right.
Now,
we're all in this together. United we stand.
United we stand. Now, during this convention of 1802, there are several cartographers that point out that, Lake Michigan is way farther south than Maumee's mouth of the river, so you can't really do that. And in fact, the whole city of Toledo is kind of above that southern line, so it might not even connect with
Toledo shouldn't exist.
Yeah, and it might not even connect. If you go straight from the southernmost point of Lake Michigan, it might not even touch Lake Erie at all. So what do you guys want to do about that? And the decision by Congress at the time was, just make the line a diagonal and make it work however you can make it work. And we'll
just it's two dots. Just connect them.
Just connect them.
Like just whoop.
With straight line. We didn't say straight line that was horizontal.
Horizontal. Yeah.
It could have been.
Yeah. They didn't specify the latitude, longitude requirements of this straight line. So just can go anywhere.
Make the line connect, and we'll kick the can down the road a little ways. Worry about that when Michigan tries to be a state.
That's the future government's problem.
Which is all fine and dandy until 1805, just a few years later, when the Michigan Territory is created, which bases the boundary off the Northwest Ordinance, which is direct conflict of the Ohio Ordinance when Ohio became a state. So Ohio has its border there, and then Michigan Territory, when it's created, in Congress, nobody decided to look at these two documents based off the Northwest.
Why would they? They were written years ago.
Territory, which is way south of the Ohio border, so now we have a problem.
Yeah.
And by 1812, Johnny, the residents of Port of Miami, before it became Toledo, got sick of not knowing if they were Michigandians or if they were Ohioans. So they pleaded with.
It's an important distinction. They're very, very different states.
Well, one's a state, which would give them, electoral votes and give them.
And this is.
And the other one's just a territory. Right? Yeah. Yeah. And so they plead Congress to make a decision, and so Congress is like, all right, we're going to send a new survey team. And Johnny, 1812, does that date ring a bell to you? Does something happen maybe in 1812?
The Great Peace of 1812.
There's a bit of a war that happens in 1812, so that survey team
that's right.
gets delayed.
Distracted?
Just a little.
Yeah. We'll have to. We've not talked about the War of 1812 yet, have we?
No, not really. It's the Battle of Nolens, which was a part of the War of 1812, but no, we haven't. But anyways, so Congress decides to kick the can down the road again until 1816, when Indiana becomes a state and is going to take 10 miles land from the Michigan border, north of that original proposed border from the Northwest Territory. Yeah, Indiana takes 10 miles of land because we want access to Lake Michigan as well.
Have you seen the dunes? We want in on that.
Yeah, and that's why we have Gary. So, yeah.
You know what? Not worth it. I'll visit another state.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it. So Michigan isn't really happy that they
bad deal.
Yeah, Michigan isn't happy that another state has come in and taken 10 miles of territory from them.
Come on,
so they again plead to Congress, like, can we please just get this border figured out?
Yeah.
So Congress does agree, and they agree to send a new survey in 1816. But Johnny, the person who's in head of the U.S. Survey Department is Edward Tiffin, who was a former Ohio governor who may just be a scotch bit biased to what Ohio should have.
See, corruption all the way back.
And that corruption, Johnny, you're right, because it ensues when he hires a William Harris who puts the mouth of the Maumee River entirely in Ohio's hand. Michigan Territory Governor Lewis Cass sees this and calls foul, saying that it only makes like this.
He's like, guys, come on.
No.
This isn't fair, right?
No.
Like,
he's like, you're making a weaker territory even weaker and a stronger state even stronger by giving them this access. So I'm going to go ahead and hire my own survey team to do their own survey.
Go. Yeah.
And that's going to be conducted, and the second survey is hired by John Fulton, and he places the border south of the mouth of the Maumee River, which is where the border should actually be if you're going to go back to the whole Northwest Territory, because,
that was what they instructed. Yeah.
And so the Toledo Strip is born, which is a 468 square mile strip of land that both Michigan and Ohio claim. So...
But... they couldn't have just made it like a no man's land where.
Well, that's essentially what
don't live there. Just don't live in there.
Well, it should have been that. Yeah, like a demilitarized zone.
Yeah, make it like a park. I don't know.
Now, Michigan, on its way to statehood, in order to become a state, you have to have at least 60,000 people in your territory. So when they made this Toledo Strip, the people who were living in Toledo are now a part of Michigan, according to this, and now they're getting closer to that 60,000 number mark. So there's a flood into this territory region from Michigandians to try to get statehood accomplished. That strip is actually going to give them access to statehood in 1820 when they reach that 60,000 cap.
All right.
And so they're going to petition to become a state, which the Ohio State Legislature blocks entirely by getting enough other states to oppose Michigan that they couldn't become a state because there couldn't be a vote. There wouldn't be a quorum of enough, 2/3 majority of states to allow them to come in.
Why? I mean, other than the obvious reasons, why would somebody be like, I don't want to make that a state? Is it taxes and stuff? Or,
so
what's
Ohio is actually...
Why wouldn't you just want another state?
Think of Ohio as the election of who was it that got elected? Won Ohio and won that vote. Was that Bush? I think it was Bush. It was like all one of those swing states. Ohio's a swing state, and so at this time it's actually a really big swing state because it has 19 electoral votes. It is one of the larger states in the union, and who controls Ohio controls the White House.
So they just want to retain power and not allow more potentially opposing voices to
exactly
be able to have a say in how this country is run.
So this effectively makes the Toledo Strip a no man's land, and this is going to go on all the way to 1833 when Michigan again pleads for a constitutional convention for their statehood. It's going to be denied because they couldn't meet terms with Ohio over the Toledo Strip. Basically, Ohio says, we will continue to block your statehood, approach until you grant us the Toledo Strip.
I mean,
Michigan's new acting governor is a Stevens T. Mason who says, screw this, and he announces that he's going to have his own state convention in January of 1835, regardless of what the Constitution and Congress have to say about it.
So he's just gonna.
He's like, we're gonna become a state anyways.
Statehood, and be like, nope, we're in the party, guys. We're here. You better get used to it.
To which Ohio then sets up local county governments inside the Toledo Strip, which up to this point hadn't been done. This pisses off Mason, who passes the Pains and Penalty Act, which makes it illegal for any Ohioans to conduct government actions in the Strip, and charged a $1,000 fine, or $32,000 in today's money.
Damn.
To any government official trying to conduct government business if they're Ohioan.
Golly. Okay.
So acting rational here, Johnny, the Ohio governor Lucas and his general of the militia, John Bell, marches to Perrysburg, Ohio with 600 fully armed militiamen inside the Toledo Strip.
And I'm sorry, forgive me, our militiamen, government?
The government of Ohio, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Not federal army. These are just state militias, but not like militias like you think of nowadays, where they're like
right.
It's actually exactly like that, but this militia has the backing of the state of Ohio, as opposed to the Ku Klux Klan.
Right.
Yeah. Which at this point in time might have been about the same thing. In any case, to which the interim Michigan governor, Mason, he's going to respond by sending his General Brown, head of his militia, with 1,000 militiamen into Toledo itself, thus starting the Toledo War.
Oh God, a war over Toledo.
Over Toledo, yeah, Toledo.
I mean,
I don't think I've ever even thought about Toledo before this episode. Now, before things get too far out of hand, President Jackson sees what's going on. Jackson, our best president who never did anything wrong. He wants to ensure that no shots are going to be fired and no actual bloodshed is going to occur on this war. So he's going to meet with his Attorney General Benjamin Butler to see what should be done. Jackson knows that Ohio is a powerful state with its 19 electoral college votes and knows that the Democrat Party is kind of only able to keep its election, thus him being in president, if he keeps Ohio. So he wants to make sure Ohio gets whatever Ohio wants.
So keep the fat pig happy, right?
Yep, but the Attorney General Benjamin Button goes, legally that's Michigan land. And I'm going to go ahead and declare that until Congress says otherwise, it is Michigan's land. So...
And then Jackson went and said, Congress, hey, that needs to be Ohio. Please?
Well, obviously Jackson doesn't like this, so he's going to send Representatives Richard Bush and Benjamin Howard to negotiate the stalemate in favor of Ohio. He's like, he picks two representatives from Congress that are going to see it his way and like, hey, go negotiate a truce here.
That's how you do it. Hey, two people who agree with me and want what I want, go figure out the pros and cons of both of these scenarios and decide what we should do.
Now, the proposed compromise was that until Congress would vote on who actually got the land or who didn't get the land, the individual that strip would hold individual elections in each county to determine whether they wanted to be a part of Michigan or if they wanted to be a part of Ohio. The Ohio governor, Lucas, was satisfied with this because obviously it's like, well, okay, great. So he begins to withdraw his troops. But 3 days later, on April 6th, 1835, most of the counties voted in support of Ohio, which pissed off Michigan Governor Mason.
Now, so what if, was it just a straight line of counties divided that way?
Basically, it's like a strip of counties.
Okay, so we could have potentially had, Michigan, boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. Like all the zigzagging stuff.
Yeah, if every other one went Michigan or whatever. But we didn't have that issue. Most of them went Ohio.
Well, Lucas takes this as a victory and sends a survey team into the strip, which went mostly unhindered until April 26, 1836, when Mason's militia under General Brown fired on the survey team at the Battle of Phillips Corner, Johnny.
How big of a battle was that when it's a survey team being fired on by a militia?
Well, the survey team, when they get back to Ohio, report that between 30 and 60 shots were fired at them, while Michigan says it fired one warning shot into the air. So, who knows what actually happened. Yeah. But either way, after the shots were fired, the survey team hightails it out of there, except for 9 of them that get captured by the state militia of Michigan.
And now they're holding them hostage? They're not
prisoners of
POWs.
Prisoners of the Toledo War, Johnny. That's what they are. They're prisoners of the Toledo War. Now, nobody dies during this battle, and one person is injured by being stabbed in the leg, although reports vary as to whether that was Michigan stabbing an Ohio dude or an Ohio dude tripping and falling and stabbing himself.
I mean, who stabs somebody in the leg and then stops there?
Maybe he got stabbed in the leg. He was like, no, I surrender. Right? I'm sorry. I apologize. After this battle, Ohioans begin calling Michiganders Wolverines because they are, and I quote, pesky little monsters. But the Michiganders, they're like, hell yeah, Wolverines!
So
hence why,
Wolverines,
Michigan University.
I always thought it was just you pick an animal that's fear. That's dope.
No,
it
draws right back to this. Yeah, it draws back to the Toledo War. Yeah,
I had no idea. Yeah. I don't really give a shit about Michigan, but I like.
Yeah, they embrace it. They're like Wolverines.
Hell yeah, we're nasty, pesky little things.
Yeah, they love it. So after this battle goes off, Lucas is going to go ahead and move his entire militia a little bit closer to Toledo, thus making tensions a little bit higher. I mean, it's a Cold War. You're moving, amping up. Everybody's amping up.
Yeah, and just get
Jackson,
not touching, you can't get mad. Not touching, you can't get mad.
Which is also like the whole thing is hilarious to me that like we think of the United States now as one nation, but like back in the early forming, it was like each state was an independent nation that just happened to have allegiance to the larger country as a whole. Sort of, but if they got into a tiff with another state, well, I ain't about overshooting at them.
Yeah, send their militia and have at it, boys. See what I mean.
So Jackson not wanting a civil war to kick off, or at least not yet, he's going to go ahead and replace Mason with John Horner, claiming that Mason was not cooperating with his peace commissions or his whatever they could come up with a mutual agreed decision.
They just needed a reason.
Yeah, you shot at somebody, we don't like that, and so you're out.
That's fair. That is fair.
So John Horner is going to be placed in charge. John Horner being a puppet specifically chosen by Jackson to do what he wants. They're going to come up with a resolution, and Jackson on June 15th, 1836, he's going to ratify the proposed compromise, giving the Toledo Strip to Ohio in exchange for Michigan getting most of Wisconsin's Upper Peninsula.
Wisconsin, the territory of Wisconsin.
The territory of Wisconsin. Okay. Yeah, it's not a state yet. It's just a territory. And they're like, what the fuck, eh?
Just
that was
thing
ours.
Up there?
That little bit up there. Yeah, the UP.
Yeah. And they just gave it to him, and then all the Wisconsin territory folks were not happy about that.
They're like, well, what the hell are we going to do?
Were the ones living in the UP at least?
All five of them?
Now we're a state? So
yes, and that's the other big important. That's the other big important part about this compromise. By doing that, it granted Michigan statehood. So Michigan got its statehood specifically because they gave up this stupid little small chunk of the Toledo Strip in exchange for the entire UP, or basically the entire UP.
Seems like they still got hosed.
Well, Johnny, they didn't get hosed because we were just talking about how Toledo and like, when have you ever thought about Toledo? And so you think there that Ohio got the bigger, because
they got the trade route, essentially,
which the canal does get finished, Johnny. That canal does get finished in 1845, connecting, the Maumee River to the Ohio River, which thereby connects Nolens all the way out to New York.
Yeah,
it does get created. The problem is it's 1845, Johnny. And the first rail line got put in the United States in 1827, which was the Baltimore-Ohio rail line.
Shoot.
And by 1850, there were 9,000 miles of rail line in the United States, which is actually more than the rest of the world combined. And by 1860, there were 30,000 miles of rail line in the United States.
Now,
making that whole canal
was that a little bit faster to ship via rail?
Yeah, rail was a little bit faster than water.
Man, if only they hadn't bickered for almost 100 years. They could have had that trade route the entire time.
Meanwhile, while the UP might not have very many people, what the UP does have is a shit ton of natural resources.
Oh yeah,
shit ton of natural resources.
Yeah,
I looked this up.
I mean, Johnny. It's all because it's South Canada essentially.
Yeah, the top five counties. The top 5 counties in the UP make $7.6 billion in GDP annually per year.
Like now?
Now, today, yeah, $7.6 billion today.
I imagine
the top
much
5
of it is
and
forestry.
Forestry. Yeah,
fishing.
That's just the top 5 counties. That's not the entire UP. That's just the top 5 counties.
Holy cow!
Compared to Toledo's $36 million in GDP total.
Yikes. Okay.
I'm pretty sure Elon Musk makes more money than Toledo does a year.
Like a day he does. Like, what are you talking about? You're pretty sure.
So the whole Toledo War over the city of Toledo was completely and totally pointless. But that's why the border is just all jacked up in Michigan, and they got their little Upper Peninsula. Which I wonder if the people in UP actually, if you're a Michigandian or a Wolverine, do you actually if you're in the UP, do you claim to be Michigan, or you just think you're your own thing going on? Because I'm pretty sure.
No, I think they claim to be like yuppers or something.
Youpers, yeah, the Youpers,
Yep.
Well, that's the whole story in a roundabout way of why Wisconsin got hosed out of the UP from Ohio.
That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and join us next week when we talk about a Boy Scout who built a nuclear reactor.